Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise is brought to you in partnership with Drive Media and Consulting and their premier sponsors. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platforms and share. If you just found us, welcome. And if you're a regular, welcome back. Denise DiGrigoli has spent her life in the creative industries as an entrepreneur, helping people transform their visions into thriving businesses, working with individuals and teams to find their purpose and live their life vibrantly. On her pod, Denise delivers business intel and life hacks with wit and wisdom in short shots like a strong espresso with a solid sense of humor. Enjoy this episode of Mav's Coffee Clarity, and here's Mav.
Welcome, my friends. You're on Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise. Wherever you are in the world, I'm so thankful you're here with us. If you're new, welcome, and if you're a regular, welcome back. You know we're a show designed to move you forward in work, life, and self-care, and come on. Who doesn't need that, my friends? I bring the insights from my work every week here to Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise, and sometimes I bring in the experts, people that are Mavericks in their own right, that have Mav their way through challenges, transformations. They share their silver linings. Think of it like coffee with a friend, inspiration you can take on the go. Now today, my friends, we are introducing for season 2 a whole new segment. That's right. We listened to you after a year of podcasting, and you asked, who's this guy by the name of the Fox? And how is it that you can manage to work and play and love with this person? And from that came our new series once a month called Ask Mav and the Fox. I am thrilled to bring on Troy Amuso, the master creative behind Troy Fine Art Services. It's a restoration company featuring fine art restoration of oil paintings. And here is the Fox. Welcome.
Who's the Fox?
I know, that's a big name to live up to, my
It's
friend.
always the mystery. Who is the Fox?
People always want to know what is Mav and who is the Fox. So this is episode 000 in the start of a new year, season 2. And we want to tell you a little bit about Mav and the Fox. So Mav is a name that my daughter gave me probably 10 years ago. It's ended up being my stage name, but it also stands for a lot. It stands for MAVigator or Maverick wisdom. It just stands for chutzpah, showing up boldly like a double shot of espresso and being real in the world, right? Role modeling the behavior you seek. And then enter stage right is the Fox. 25 years. Okay, people have asked us, can you tell us how you do it? Is it some magic formula, or do you live in 2 separate places in 2 separate parts of the world? Okay, Troy, tell us about the Fox.
The Fox. Well, the Fox came to be very early on in Denise and my relationship together.
This isn't tequila, my friends. He's telling the truth.
Believe it or not, we go back so far as to if you spoke on the phone from one state to another, you actually had to pay like long distance charges.
Remember that? How big was your phone bill?
Long before the days of limitless cell phone service and, you could speak around the world for
unlimited texting
cost.
Didn't exist.
It didn't exist, right?
Right.
So Denise and I used to sit on the phone with a little timer. Is kind of a funny story. We used to stay on the phone so long.
We were in 2 different states at the time.
And I was in New York State and Denise was in Connecticut. And we would get these monster phone bills every month from our long phone
They were monster, like gargantuan, Empire State Building size.
So I went out as a joke one day, and I went into, I think it was like a cooking store or something, and
because he knew I was a phenomenal cook. He said no one but Stu Leonard's.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story.
We'll do a whole episode on that story. And I bought one of these little tomato timers. It looks like a tomato, and you would turn like the top of it and set the time. And I gave it to Denise as a kind of a funny gag gift. Anyway, so we could time
What was that, to
phone.
time my talking? I forget now.
That was to kind of keep it all in line.
Okay. Who was in charge of the timer? Me?
I think so.
Okay.
I think I gave it to you when you had the timer.
All right. It was a tomato timer.
So anyway, we were on the phone one night or whatever, and I don't recall exactly what the story was that we were talking about, but Denise had asked me a question, and I think we were kind of seeing something from two different angles.
Right.
And of course,
two different business angles, but they connected with doing family business.
Right.
As I recall the story.
But since it was early on, of course, I wanted to be on the right side of the tracks with Denise.
You were trying to impress me?
I didn't want to disagree hardly with her. So I started, I started kind of backpedaling a little bit on my answer and trying to kind of mold my answer from a different perspective.
You were trying to swoon me?
And Denise called me out and she said, "You should stop right now because you are digging yourself into a big old foxhole."
See, that's a Maverick moment, right? I just called him out. Stop right now.
She did. She said,
"Hold
"You're
up,
digging
bro.
yourself into a big old foxhole, Foxy."
Yeah.
And
I called him out. I remember.
So she called me Foxy after that for a long time, and Foxy went on to become the Fox.
And in fairness to Troy, at that time, I think Saving Private Ryan was a movie. So I visualized a big old foxhole with him trying to dig himself out with a big old foxtail, trying to foxy me into the liar's den. I was like, no, I don't even really know you that well yet. You're not having it, bro. Right?
Really, really funny. Yeah, really funny. And the funny thing about it is Fox has really become my like Denise calls me Fox way more than she calls me Troy. Fox is just the usual name, and nobody else really is allowed to call me Fox except for Denise. Now, the funny thing,
once in a while, Uncle Buddy can call you Fox.
Denise's older uncle kind of gets away with it. But the funny thing about that is that sometimes people because it just comes so naturally. I call Denise Sweetie. Let's just cut to that chase too. My nickname for Denise is Sweetie.
I pay him to do that, right?
I pay him. Her Sweetie all the time. So anybody that knows us,
you don't call me Mav?
Knows that I call Denise Sweetie. I don't call her. I actually do call you Mav sometimes. But the Fox thing is funny because when people hear her call me Fox, I think sometimes they think she thinks I'm like this hot fox. Like she's calling me
you are
Fox,
a hot
like
fox.
I'm a hot fox. And the joke of it all is that's not why she calls me that.
Right. I'm not, as Bonnie Raitt says, don't advertise your man. And I'm not advertising, but you are Foxy, let's face it. But no, I call you Fox because I'm not going to even tolerate any secondhand BS. Absolutely not. Dig yourself out of that foxhole, the Fox. But now Fox is sort of like, it's more than a term of endearment. It's like, it's a status symbol.
Well, the thing is, talk about relationships and many of the things that we will, I'm sure, discuss throughout this series as we go forward is Denise clearly, as everybody knows, Mav is very outward, kind of in your face.
Did you just try not to say outspoken?
And very outspoken. Everybody that knows Denise and knows Denise as Mav or not knows that that's Denise's personality. I tend to be
I'm an advocate for the people.
The beauty, well, true, but the beauty of our existence together, not only our relationship, but our existence together is that we are very much, we have the same common goal, and our end result is always, for the most part, we both strive to kind of land in the same spot. But we do it in a very different way sometimes.
Oh, boy, we're the yin and the yang.
When Denise is very kind of outward, a personality, kind of in your face kind of personality.
In your face nicely.
Yeah, nicely, yeah. But you're very, very, you're very upfront. I tend to be much more quiet, much more reserved. He
irons his clothes when they come back from the dry cleaner, my friends. That's reserved.
I do. Well, listen, he
said I do.
I restore oil paintings for a living, and some of those paintings just there's no margin for any kind of error or imperfection.
Said no one in the dry cleaning business, but okay.
That's very true. I most of the time, my shirts come back from the dry cleaner and they look great. I put them in the closet. When I take them out, there's always this one kind of crease that goes right down the center of the shirt from the way it's hanging on the hanger or whatever. I don't know. And then the collars always gets crunched.
Oh,
and they always
sounds like a lot of work to me.
They always say, judge a man
or woman or whomever.
A well-dressed man.
Person. We have to go person.
You can always tell a well-dressed man by the collar of their shirt. If a guy has a really crisp, finely pressed collar, it just shows a sense of quality, not only or quality in their clothing, but also quality in their approach to dressing. So
it can be male, female, they, them. I'm going to have to say that. Not only a guy needs a press. If I go out in public and I look like a disheveled mess, I think the inner dialogue shows out in how I dress. So it's not only exclusive to a guy.
Oh, of course.
Okay,
not,
but you identify as a guy, so you're saying that.
And you're referring to me and how I iron my shirts.
Right, of course. Right. We like to be politically correct here, right? And we're not doling out financial, medical, or spiritual advice in any way. We are just telling you how we exist and exist successfully.
All conversation, all statements on this show are just our opinion.
Right.
We are.
If you don't like it, turn the channel.
This is just two opinions from Mav and the Fox.
Well, so, we've worked together for, it's more like 25 years. I keep saying 20, but it's more like 25. And it's true. People have asked many times, based on your conservative or reserved approach and my outward, in your face, let's get it done now, slip, slide, and even people point out some of my misspellings in my emails. Doesn't matter. The message gets out. People ask all the time, so how is it that those two polarities come together with such success? That's what we want to answer in our little monthly segment. And I think you should tell people a little bit about they know that I called you Foxy in the foxhole. How did we meet? Do you remember?
Well, of course I remember.
You remember?
Well, we'll just put it this way. We met out one night in a very nice restaurant that was just being opened by two friends of mine. And
he's trying not to say bar room. It really was. It was a restaurant bar.
It really was a restaurant bar, but they had an outstanding menu and an outstanding chef. So it was a really kind of a unique place. And they had a great bar. And, it was kind of in the beginning of when these kind of cool bars opened up that had 50 million different types of beer on tap. And this place was called the Tap House at the time.
Oh, I forgot the name.
I
All
don't
right.
believe they're in business anymore.
Right, the Tap House.
That was 27 years.
All right, let's not date ourselves. So what happened?
Long story short, Denise happened to be there. She could expand on why she was there, how she got there. But Denise was there. I was there. The place was really crowded. We were both standing at the bar. She was talking with some people. I was talking with some other people. A friend of mine was standing between the two of us. And he was kind of being extra chatty with Denise, who apparently wasn't enjoying the
move on, my friend. Move on.
And this was in the days when people had pagers. So he had a pager, and in the conversation, he
thought he was Magnum PI with the crazy pager on the side.
He was kind of a stodgy guy. He wasn't a great friend of mine, but he was definitely a guy that if I saw him out, I'd hang out and just kind of talk to him. But he definitely had a stodgy kind of personality. But in the conversation, he was like, my
cookie cutter. What are you doing here? Ooh, what is your name? Oh, where do you ski? Oh, you come from the Berkshires. Oh, oops, my pager's going off. Oh, good riddance.
So his pager goes off.
Thank
and
heavens.
He goes, excuse me, I have to go make a phone call. So he leaves, and suddenly I'm standing there, and my conversation was kind of drying up or whatever. And I just turned to the side, and there was Denise with a couple of other girls, or maybe one girlfriend at least. But there were so many people around. I just remember she was talking to a couple of people. I turned, and I was just kind of overhearing the conversation, and they were talking
See how nosy he was?
About where they were
overhearing?
from. I was foxing.
Yes, he was foxing. I should have known back then.
So they were kind of laughing about where they were from. So I just kind of looked, and I looked at Denise, and she looked at me, and she said, I said, well, where are you from? And she looked at
Oh,
me and
God,
she
here
said,
we go again. Where
well,
are you from?
Where do you think I'm from? Now, let me just give you the picture. This is Mav. This is Mav 20 some odd years ago.
Mav in the making.
Still much the same as she is today. But, and most people probably don't know this about you, but Denise has this kind of a long running passion for animal print clothing and fake fur coats. Mind you,
I can't even
fake
believe you
fur
just
coats.
said that online.
Denise and big fluffy fur coats is just like such a
Faux fur.
faux fur. I
Faux fur.
said fake fur, but
Okay.
so there's Denise, hair teased up, all her dramatic eye makeup.
Excuse
And
me, it
she's
wasn't
got
that
the-
dramatic.
and she's got this big fake fur coat on, and of course Denise
I was dressed for business. I had
in
come
all
from
of
a
her
business
in all of
occasion.
her 5 feet of height.
Now you told another piece of personal data. I'll be
was
spotted at
standing
the
there,
airport
and
now.
the way she was like talking and laughing and her outfit that she had on, she said, "Where do you think I'm from?" And I looked at
Can
her.
you
I
believe
paused for a
this?
minute.
Can you believe this? Seriously.
I said,
Can you believe this?
The Bronx, New York.
He accused me of being from the Bronx. And you know what I said? I had to take a giant pause. I was like, really? And now exactly why is that? Because I have teased hair and a fake fur coat on? And he said, yes.
It's really the stereotype. It's
Yeah, the girls
certainly
from the
not
Bronx
politically
don't
correct,
like
but-
the girls
And
from
I
the
didn't-
Bronx don't
I
like that
didn't-
at all.
I didn't mean it in a bad way. It's
No,
just,
no, you didn't.
I grew up in southern Westchester County. I was in the city. I went to school in the city as you did. I've been around all that part of the world.
Hey,
so
us
much that
Italian
it just-
American
it
girls
just-
own that. We
Right,
like our
it's-
fake fur and our hair and our hairspray.
It was like a Sopranos moment. It's like
Right.
just,
Oh God, you just sunk us again. Ah,
So that went on to her telling me that she was from the Berkshires. Now, I grew up skiing in the Berkshires. We're actually in the Berkshires right now as we're filming this.
we're taping live in
And-
one of my 2 studios. We have some here in Western Mass, and we have some in Southern Fairfield County,
Right.
Connecticut.
Right.
We're fortunate in that
We're
way.
very fortunate, absolutely. But I grew up skiing up here, and so when Denise mentioned where she was from, and I thought, oh my God, that's right near Great Barrington, Massachusetts. I grew up as a kid skiing there. I've been there a million times, and that started the conversation, and we ended up moving over to like a high top table on the side because we just started talking. And we talked the entire night until the place closed.
I think we talked literally for 6 hours. And I remember my friend Patty, God rest her soul, who's left to go to the heavens. I remember her being with me and her saying, "Are you done?" And I said, "Wait a minute, Patty, you went off to talk to that other person, and I thought you were talking to him for a while." She's like, "Yeah, that was 4 hours ago. You've been talking to this dude for 6 hours." That's how I kind of knew that you were interesting. Because I got lost in the 6-hour conversation.
Yeah, the time just disappeared.
Time flew.
For sure. And here we are.
We are.
We're still sitting here talking.
Yeah, I think we met for everybody listening, I think we met in the tail end of 97, and we formalized our commitment in 99. So we've been hanging out.
Got married.
Yeah, we got married, and we've been in business. We've had a variety of businesses. We've had retail stores. We've had art galleries. We've had service-oriented picture hanging businesses. And now we've gone back to the roots of fine art, oil painting, restoration, which is where you started when you were a kid.
I started when I was a kid, 14 years old, in high school. I got a tip from a family, a friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing, who knew this art conservator that needed just somebody to come in and kind of sweep the floors and help keep his studio in order. It was a perfect job for me after school, and they knew I was interested in art and said, "Oh, Troy might be a perfect person for this job." So it turns out I got the job, and the art conservator's name was Jan van de Viver. He was a Dutch art conservator who was of the highest caliber in his field, and doing work for the Metropolitan Museum of Art and a number of other institutions and high-level collectors. And Jan worked on master paintings on the regular basis, so it was very common for me. I always say I grew up around Rembrandt and Turner. And
so talk about the polarity. While you were 14 pulling apart Turner paintings with Jan.
I wasn't pulling paintings apart in those days.
I was pumping gas with my grandmother in her automotive services business in the Berkshires. You know, people that know me know the story of my grandmother and how dear she was to me and how influential she was in sort of shaping the service-oriented person I am. My grandmother would always say, you cannot be a success unless you help other people be a success. And kind of bringing it back to the Ask Mav and the Fox, the idea of Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise is to help people move forward with ideas. We don't dispense advice. We share our stories. And if you get any ideas from that or that helps you move forward, then we've done our job. The interesting thing about you and I was we were both in the city going to creative colleges and never ran into each other at Studio 54, the Limelight, or Palladium.
Well, that's because I didn't go to Studio 54, Limelight, or the Palladium. I went to like the Lone Star Cafe and see Albert King and see like rock and roll shows.
I think it's a testament to how like opposites attract, but then we have this kind of mutually creative vein that brings us together. And I think my goal for our segment is to help people say, you know, whatever business you're in, or maybe one of you's in business and one of you's in a work environment, that, you know, success depends on you, right? And
for sure.
And where you're at with your mindset and the sum of your 5 best friends and the energy you let in your life, and how I think this segment will strive to answer like, well, how do you do it? You definitely have twists and turns. You have ups and downs. What do the ups look like? What do the downs look like? And how do you get out of a valley and get back to the vista? How do you get out of a valley and get back to a vista?
You know, I don't know. Denise and I both had pretty long careers before we got together. I mean, we were both, I think, pretty seasoned in our fields at the time that we kind of joined together in business and brought our own knowledges together. But when you step out,
that's true,
into business on your own, it's a whole different game. It really is a whole different game. And you tap into every single thing that you've learned along your lifeline.
Yes.
When you're in business for yourself, trying to figure it out. Because
you need a lifeline at times.
It's a great thing. I mean, creating your own businesses, whether it's one or multiples or multiple facets of the same business, which is definitely something that we've done. It's really like building blocks, and it's really, you're always coming up against you have challenges, and no matter how successful you are, the onslaught of success, the lack of success, the peaks and valleys of business being really good to all of a sudden business being really slow, or whatever the problems are, there's always something that you have to figure out.
Yes.
And whether you're trying to figure out how to make business or you're trying to figure out how to handle a lot of business, there's always something on the line. And it's a really cool thing. But in the beginning,
it's scary.
It's definitely scary, for sure. I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I've told this story to many people over the years that have asked me about, you know, running your own business, starting your own business. And one of the pieces of advice I give to people is this: when I was starting out, when we were starting out, actually right before we did, I used to wake up in the middle of the night and I wouldn't be able to sleep because I would be worried about one thing or another. Is this going to work? Is it going to fly? What if it doesn't?
Did I make the right
Is
decision?
this the right way to go?
Where's my paycheck?
Right. And I would I'd have to get up out of bed and I'd have to walk around my apartment at the time. And I would sit down and I would say to myself, Troy, is this, whatever the issue is this going to kill you? I literally used
wow,
to
that
say
was
to
dramatic. Is this going to kill you?
Is this going to kill you? And the answer would always be no. This isn't going to kill you. This is not a life-threatening situation. And I would say,
great perspective.
If it's not a life-threatening situation, you can figure it out.
Get back in bed.
And then I would get back in bed and I'd be able to fall back asleep. I did that for, I don't know how long that used to go on. And I've used that little thing in my own head for years. Whenever, really fortunately, don't come up upon things that are that dramatic, you do kind of become seasoned to this stuff after
You
a
have some
while.
thick leather skin, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, you
from that old
definitely-
foxhole?
Yeah, you definitely get some calluses on your fingers kind of thing. And like you can kind of barrel through things much more effectively now than, 20 some odd years ago. But it really is. I mean, it is a great standard for anything. And I like I said, I mean, I've shared this with people in different situations, and I share it now to anybody who's ever up against something really challenging in your life, no matter what it is. If it's not something that's going to kill you, that has the potential of literally taking you down, you'll be able to figure it out. You just have to focus and believe in yourself and have faith in yourself, and you'll get through it.
So I add to that, like, I grew up around many family members, and you did too, where like my grandmother and grandfather were in business together, and I had experience in being in family business. So when we got together, I'm not going to say it was easy for me to get out of my big fancy corporate career, and doing my own thing and living independently, but I didn't have an issue working in family business. How did you? I mean, I know we did it sort of seamlessly, but were you ever thinking, hey, one day I'm going to find somebody and that person's going to be in business with me forever and ever and ever?
No, I'll tell you.
And pluck my nerves so I have no hair on my head.
So,
well, the lack of your hair, is that from me?
This is, no, I would say it's not from you. I don't think
okay.
it's from you, although it could be. No, I think it's more of a style choice at this point. But
okay, he saved me there, my friends. He said it was a style choice.
The funny thing, and I send this out to anybody listening, whether you're in business, thinking about going into business, never want to go into business, and if you're thinking about, do I want to do it with a partner? Do I want to do it with my husband, with my wife, with my partner, my life partner, whatever? I used to always say to myself, I want to be in business for myself. That was a goal of mine for many years before I actually did go into business for myself.
That fateful night at the tap house.
I used to always say to myself, but I never want to have a partner. I want to be.
And here's the new segment talking about partnerships. I don't know. You think he's okay, my friends?
Now, here's the thing. I will say,
I guess you need to find the right partner.
You have to find the right partner. And lo and behold, Denise and I have been, I never like to refer to us as business partners. I think we're so much more than that. But technically, part of our partnership in life is that we are business partners. We're both owners of our company, and we're both in it together, and we both make decisions together and all that. So we really are business partners alongside being husband and wife and parents and all that. Are
you partners in Drive Media? I don't know. I don't think you came into that one.
That's actually a really good point.
I'm partners at Troy Fine Art, but I don't think you're partners.
Denise does.
Oh, somebody's going to hit me with a double standard. Well, no, that's not how that happened, though. We were partners at Troy Fine Art Services for many years, and then I started another company after you refactored back into straight Fine Art Services.
But you never invited me to be a partner.
No, I didn't.
Which
as
is
a matter
fine with me, by the way. It's totally fine with me. But I just want to be
You got to share the
about
benefit
that.
and the burden of that, my friend. Okay.
Every once in a while, Denise will say, I may have like a proposal to what could be a potentially large project, and I'll be preparing to go to the meeting, and Denise will poke her nose in and say, can I go to that meeting with you? And my answer will be sometimes it might be yes, but many times it'll be like, I like to just go on my own. I'll say, no, you can't come. You're going to get my focus messed up if you come on this meeting. I'm going on my own. You're good. And then she'll say, I'm like, listen, I've never been on one Drive Media.
But you're on the podcast now.
Well, I'm on the pod. This is a different thing.
Okay, so I think we need to clarify. So Troy Fine Art Services, Inc. is our family business.
Yes.
And we were involved in that many years together very wholeheartedly. Even your dad, when he was alive, used to volunteer with us.
He did.
In a very administrative role, but nonetheless. And
he was really a helper.
He was a helper.
People used to always say, wow, this is really great. So are you following in your father's footsteps? And I used to laugh and say, no, I'm not actually. He doesn't know anything about how to do this stuff.
But,
He
you
just
know,
helps me.
He was great at making the tools and everything
it
organized.
was a good
And
thing.
Ava would come after school and be at the studio, and Papa would be there making her Lego houses with her and her doll houses out of the foam board. But what I want the audience or listening folks to hear is that, so we were in business, and we are in business many years, and Troy Fine Art Services has evolved from retail conservation stores throughout Fairfield County to corporate. We had a big corporate art division for many years, and I was very significantly involved in that.
Yep.
And when you went back into your roots, which was straight fine art, oil painting, restoration, something, my friends, I cannot do. This is just the truth. Then I separated and broke off doing Drive Media Consulting, which is a firm that helps people grow their business, market, promote, helps them put together their presentations, get on stage, grow their revenue. It's a strategic business consulting organization.
Right.
It's a little too dry for you, my friend.
It's not my passion.
Right.
My passion is everything that we've done, but really, really the reason that Troy Fine Art has shifted in it's been almost 10 years now that we've shifted to just focusing on oil painting restoration, is for quite a number of years before that shift happened. Denise, I still restored paintings. I've restored paintings for my entire life, and all through Troy Fine Art, from time to time, a painting would come in that needed to be restored, and people would ask me if I could restore their paintings for them. And because I was really spread out over so many things that we were doing.
At one point, we had multiple stores.
Yeah, we had multiple locations. We were doing conservation framing. We had an art gallery. We were doing corporate art programs. So we were out.
We were doing artist shows.
Yeah, we were doing a lot of things.
It was a little crazy at one point.
It was hard for me to focus on restoring paintings. So I would selectively take a painting in from time to time and restore it. And whenever I would, Denise would look at it and the kind of before and after result of me restoring, she would say, I don't know why you don't do this full time.
His strategic business advisor came swooping down and said, you're wasting your time on so many things when this is a lost art that's so few. You have a niche market, niche, whatever they call it nowadays. Niche is the vogue word.
But the thing,
and you refuted me for a number of years, and I kept saying, no, don't be stunad. Come on, do this work. It's incredible work.
Well, at the time, and this is, good for everything in life. The time things fall into place when they fall into place, and sometimes it's not the time. And as much as you may think it should be or you want it to be, sometimes for any event to happen in your life, even the decision of being in an art business and deciding, well, I'm just going to focus on restoring instead of doing these other 10 things that we're committed to doing, you could want to do it then, but if it's just not the time, it's not the time. And for me, the time came when we basically hit a point where we wanted to make a change. I mean, we had been in business for a number of years, and it was just time. Denise was kind of getting the itch to do a lot of what she's doing now at Drive Media. Drive Media and consulting didn't exist in those days.
Well, so what happened
So
I have to interrupt.
No, why do you have to interrupt? Let me finish my thought. See, this goes on all the time.
Because you've hogged up the microphone.
Right. So, and that was the point really where I really felt like I had done enough framing in my career. I had done enough, selling art and dealing with artists and all that sort of thing. Denise was kind of feeling like she wanted to kind of shift away from that as well. And it was the lease where we were, was coming up. And rather than renewing the lease, we decided to move out of the space. We moved into another space on a property that we own and put the studio there. And I just, at that point, I was decided that I was going to restore paintings only. And Denise,
took my advice.
That was going to free up Denise to kind of to venture out and to do some other things that she wanted to do and still still be involved in the family business, but it gave you much more freedom to do that as well. So,
I think a valuable piece to share with our listening friends is this. While you were out doing some of the art installation and advising in people's homes, which is still a key point. You know, you meet with people in their homes. I was running the gallery in the front of the house and running the artists and, you know, helping artists get and stay in business is a challenge of its own. And I had written a book, The Daily Drive, an agenda for your mind, body, spirit, and lifestyle. And I started teaching creative classes in the gallery.
Right.
So this is what I want to say about this episode with Ask Mav and the Fox. We have always had chance favors the prepared mind. As creatives, we're always, you know, evolving, reinventing, inviting in solutions. So at that point, you're getting sick of doing that. I'm getting sick of doing, you know, artist reinvention, and the book is starting to take off. And if you remember, we had an art client that had a newspaper well renowned in the county, and the brother of said client was starting a TV station. And I had the opportunity to do the first live stream TV show called The Daily Drive with Denise. Of course, there was a lot of bartering and exchanging and whatever. So that allowed me to put my toe outside the family business. It also allowed you to start to refactor into what is your business now.
Correct.
And I think the challenge of all of that, and hopefully what people get out of this, is we had to keep allowing each other to grow, keep inviting in new scenarios, and still staying very connected. And that's the question we get a lot. How do you guys grow and do all the things that you do? And we took care of your dad through his dementia and until he went home to the other side. So we were a busy family. We still are a busy family. And we did a lot of things. And people would always say, oh, you make it seem so easy. And I don't think it was so easy. I think it was how you said in the beginning earlier in this session, we come at it from two very different angles, but the end result is we knew we wanted to stay in business. We knew we had creative things to offer. We had clients, and we wanted to keep moving forward. So when we got rid of the retail space, which really honestly was just a noose on our necks, we then went back into places that we owned, so we didn't have that big overhead, and we could really, you know, launch ourselves. And so much of what's happening nowadays is, you know, side hustles, you know, side gigs, multiple streams of income. And we were trying to figure it out together. Like, where do I stay in the family business? Do I do this own thing? And then it started to evolve into who we are today. Mm-hmm. Because now we are in yet another talk show. Ask Mav and the Fox.
This is true.
So
yeah, that's definitely the more detailed explanation of kind of how it all came down. I just wanted to add, though, that the reason that I did go myself back to restoring paintings, even though through all that time you said you thought that that's what I should do. The timing just wasn't right, but the bottom line is
the timing wasn't there.
That is what I'm passionate about. So I'm not passionate about being a business consulting I love people, and I do a lot of public speaking around the world of art conservation and for all types of organizations and museums and clubs and all kinds of things. So I enjoy spreading the word about preserving art. And, you know, in today's world, everything is so digital. You know, these old paintings that are, you know, one of the kind of treasures of history that we have, that if they're not conserved and restored, they disintegrate and they basically deteriorate away. And at some point, we just won't have them anymore. So I'm really passionate about preserving the paintings in the world. And I'm very passionate about the process of doing it is what I get very excited about, the process.
So I guess for our segment, how are we going to share with our audience how we do what we do, which is two polar different things, at least right now, with a deep appreciation for what each other does? Like, what's your goal for our segment? Because you really are the guest. You are really the super guest in this segment once a month. We're going to do it once a month.
Well, we're going to do it once a month. So I'm going to consider myself not really a guest.
Oh, you're not a guest now?
I'm going to fill myself. I'm going to push myself.
Here you go, right back into the foxhole.
And I'm going to consider myself a co-host with you.
Now
How about that?
Now you're
what
in
does
my
everybody
gig.
think about that? I'm going to be a co-host with you.
All right,
I know that's hard.
It is.
I know that's hard.
I'm going to give it to you, though.
Mav will always have the steering wheel.
Okay, I am in the steering wheel. Yes, we know, my friends.
And my goal for
yes,
this
what is your goal?
is, I think that, anything, it's like talking about art conservation. It's like, I like sharing the knowledge. I think there's so much cool stuff.
But this isn't an art conservation show, my friend.
I'm not.
That's your own show.
I know. I'm just comparing it to that.
Okay.
Because what I was about to say before you interrupted me.
Well, I do that.
was there's so much.
Only because I love you.
There's so much cool stuff in a relationship, and so much cool stuff in running a business and making career decisions for yourself, whether you go into business for yourself or it's just a career move. These are all like life events. Your relationship with your partner in life, whoever that may be.
At the time.
What your involvement or non-involvement in business with that person is, and the challenges that you come up in life and that you come up in business. There's so many of them can be metaphoric for themselves. So I think, I get asked questions as you do, as we do together, as we do independently, questions all the time about just life things and business things. And being a person in business for so long, I mean, we have so many friends that have great careers, but haven't been in their own business. And it's just such a different animal being entrepreneurial in your life. And so anything that I can share to people about that existence in the world, being an entrepreneur, running your own business, people ask me, oh, it's so great that you're in an art business and that must be so much fun. And it is, it's all great, but it's still a business.
Right.
I mean, we make a living, off of what we both do for our careers apart and together. And Troy Fine Art is a business. It's a corporation, technically, literally. So not that we have a corporation of tons of employees, but I don't mean it in that sense, but it's a business. So businesses are business. So whether you have a restaurant, whether you have a record company, or you have an art business, or you're an artist, or you're a consultant, or you're
clothing store,
or an athlete,
service oriented,
performer. I mean, whatever you do to make money is a business.
Well,
so
I got to jump in for a minute because we're definitely targeting creatives and entrepreneurs, and yet, what I want people to know is that even if you're in a professional job, as in the case of our daughter seeking employment, right? There's an entrepreneurial mindset. We'll call it intrapreneurial, that'll allow you to be successful whether you own your own business or not. So there's the yin and the yang, my friends, right? We're going to bring together our entrepreneurial thinking. So whether you're in your own business or not, that thinking is a creative process. That's a solution-oriented process. And what I think about being in a creative business, it gives you a lot of opportunities. I remember, not to segue too far off, but going to college, my parents were like, oh, you can't be an artist because artists starve. And the reality is some do and some don't. And some businesses make it and some don't. And we know that for a fact, right? Mm-hmm. Most entrepreneurial businesses don't make it. This is not a show of what's not working. This will always be a show of what's working.
Yeah, I'll just add in, and this about me. I'm a huge proponent and promoter of mindset. I think that so much of what we do in our life is based on your mindset. I'm a very, very big believer that everything in life is a choice. So it's all what you choose to make of any situation. And like literally every situation, everything you do every day, you have to stop and think about it for a second and make a choice. Do I go out the door or do I stay in the room? Do I turn the light on or do I turn it off? Do I make this career move or do I not? Can I get this done or is it too much for me to deal with? Do I have the ability or, so, I mean, it goes on and on and on. So I really, really believe in mindset overall. So I think one thing that we'll be talking about a lot through some of the questions that we're going to get and that we've gotten already. I mean, we already have some questions
in the
queue. So, which will be really fun to answer and just have conversation about. But mindset will be a big part of it.
What's the one thing you want to leave the audience with? Like, what's the one thing that they can come here monthly and expect to get from us?
Hopefully some quality feedback and hopefully some information that will be helpful to moving people's lives forward. And I think we all learn from each other. So, whatever we have to offer hopefully in kind of a fun and funny way, and informed fashion, getting technical, getting factual, sharing mindset approaches, having some fun.
Are you going to teach people how to iron their clothes coming from the dry cleaner?
I will.
Just asking for a friend.
We could do a segment on ironing. I am the ironer of the family. So, and I'll tell you sometime, if we remember, I'll tell you why I became the ironer of the family.
Well, we've got a lot of stories to share with you, my friends.
It does have something to do with entrepreneurship.
Okay, so guess what? You've just experienced episode 000, Ask Mav and the Fox, where we're going to answer your entrepreneurial questions and how to get together, stay together, work together, play together, love each other, and move forward for the goodness of yourselves and the community. Peace out, my friends. Mav and the Fox have got to get back to work. Hey, that's a wrap for today, my friends. Thanks for listening, subscribing, and staying connected with me. Head on over to DeniseDiGregoli.com and learn a little bit more about my creative and strategic consulting services. While you're there, drop your name on the contact page. Sign up for my bi-weekly brew. It's fresh ideas delivered to your inbox a couple times a month for clarity, creativity, and better communication. It's based on my 3 decades as an entrepreneur, helping other people and businesses move forward. It's great business intel and life hacks that you can use for work, life, and self-care. And come on, who doesn't need that nowadays? Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, my friends. Mav has got to get back to work.